Recently, Voice of Rohingya Radio had the pleasure of speaking with Myanmar-based human rights activist WaiWai Nu in a phone interview. WaiWai Nu is a former political prisoner. At the age of 18, she was arrested and sentenced to 17 years in prison, together with her mother, sister, and brother, for supporting and promoting the idea of a democratic Myanmar. In 2012, after 7 years in prison, she was released under a presidential amnesty for political prisoners. Since being freed, she has dedicated herself to promoting human rights and democracy in Myanmar. A Rohingya from Arakan state, WaiWai Nu was deeply moved by the escalation of violence that she encountered upon her release from prison. After which, WaiWai decided to form the women's peace network Arakan as a platform to build peace and mutual understanding between Myanmar's different ethnicities and advocate for the rights of marginalized women in Arakan. Through the Women's Peace Network, Wai has campaigned in Myanmar and around the world for women's rights, an end to impunity, and an end to the persecution and marginalization of her people, the Rohingya. WaiWai Nu, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
You're welcome.
I was wondering if you could tell me just a little bit about yourself and your organization.
My name is WaiWai Nu. I was born in Rakhine State, Budiyang Township. My father is Ujomin, who is an MP in 1919 election and a former CRPP member. Currently, he is a chairman of Democracy and Human Rights Party. So, since my father was a politician and made allies with Aung San Suu Kyi with a group called CRPP, our family was targeted by the military regime in the past. Then, my father and the rest of the family members were imprisoned in 2005 to 2012. We were sentenced for long-term imprisonment. My father was 47 years, and the rest of the family members, including me, were 17 years. Luckily, we were released at the presidential amnesty in 2012 after 7 years. After that, I entered to the activism to work for promoting democracy in Burma after we were released from jail. But then there was violence happening in Rakhine State in June 2012. Then, and since I'm also a Rohingya woman from Rakhine State, I feel that I have responsibility to involve in the problem, to solve the problem, and to try to get peace in Rakhine State for the Rohingya community and Rakhine community for all of the people of Rakhine State. But it was actually very difficult to involve or to work for the solutions of Rakhine State as a woman and as a marginalized community in Rakhine State. But at the end, I tried myself, and I did whatever I could. At the end, we set up a women organization called Women Peace Network Arakan. We were trying to advocate for the cause of Rohingya and to reduce the violence and to try to get solutions in the Rakhine State for peaceful coexistence.
I was wondering if you could tell me about your experience in prison as a young girl, and how do you feel when you look back on it?
Yeah, actually, that made my life change. The experience, having injustice experience in my life, changed my path, my way for the future, my decision. So because of that, I became activist. I became humanist, I became feminist. I became everything because of that, because of facing injustice in my young life, because I don't want other young people face the same situation like me. And I want justice for all people in Burma. So I think that, young people is the future of the country. So they shouldn't face injustice, or they shouldn't be imprisoned without any guilty. That make their future destroy. That create hard for their mentality, for their heart and for their mind, everything there. That is actually, if we cannot change that into positive way, that will affect negatively for the country. So what I say, young people or anyone shouldn't be in prison without guilty or without having proper trial. For me, it was like big change, and I have got a lot of experience in the prison, and I could learn a lot. So it is for me. It was very hard time, but at the same time, I could able to transform into a good way. So I think that even though I was in very difficult situation, but I feel that is life. So I have to be strong for the injustice. I have to stand on the injustice by being strong enough.
And what is the situation for Rohingya inside Burma right now, especially in Rakhine State?
The current situation in Rakhine State, it's still we don't see any progress, and what I see is it's getting worse and worse, because especially for the Rohingya in Rakhine State, it's getting more and more restrictions, and there are still like in a situation of in confinement, and they're not still getting enough food, medical care, and also since violence happened in 2012, until now, students cannot go to the school. They're not allowed to go to the school. University students are not allowed to go to the school. So the young people, students especially, they're losing hope for the future, and that is very critical problem for the young people. And also the restrictions of movement, even restrictions in economic and business livelihood, the restrictions become higher and higher. So they're living in a situation difficult to survive and difficult to alive. That's why many people are fleeing every day.
Wai Wai, do you have anything you'd like to say to those in the United States who might not be familiar with Rohingya issues?
So what I want to say to the people of the United States is the issue of the Rohingya and the cause of the Rohingya is very critical and serious right now. And the Rohingya are recognized, even the United Nations recognized the Rohingya as one of the most persecuted community in the world. And also the human rights reporter on Burma, Mr. Thomas O'Hay-Container, mentioned that he has found element of genocide against the Rohingya in Rakhine State. And also the issue was discussed in the UN Security Council by the United Nations Ambassador of United States, Samantha Power, and even United States has issued Resolution 418 and Rohingya problem. So it means that the issue is very serious, and the Rohingya has been persecuted for decades. They are systematically persecuted and facing ethnic cleansing, and even more, it's crimes against humanity. And even some scholars say it is a slow-burning genocide. And a scholar of the London School of Economics, Dr. Zani, mentioned that it is a slow-burning genocide. So I want to take the attention from the people of United States to take prompt action to secure to rescue human life and tribes of the earth. Thank you so much.